let's get into trouble, baby.
Oi, I'm Eddie, the Skinhead Gourmet. Today we're going to be making some tapas. A couple of nice, quick, little, easy finger food appetizer type things you can make a few of. Great for parties, or you just want to have a dinner with more conversations.
That's why we dress this way. Living for now, stand today. See the truth, but don't hear what they say. Close your eyes and look the other way. You say at the end, you surprise the means. They'll lock us up, throw away the case. Crucified, crucified for your sins. Crucified, crucified for your sins. They don't know our feelings. Only desperate cry. They seek protection through distorted eyes. Can't tell the truth, can't tell the lies. Got to learn to fight to live, for they grind us on nails. Crucified, crucified for your sins. Crucified, crucified.
Alright, the first thing we're going to do is make some stuffed mushrooms. We're going to take a regular white mushroom. We're going to want to remove the cap, put the cap aside, and take what's left of the stem. We're going to dice that up. This is going to actually make for a nice bunch of the stuffing that we're going to use to get these mushrooms nice and stuffed. Now the first thing we're going to want to do, you can do this without bacon and just start with a little bit of oil and go right into the regular ingredients, but since I am trying to make these a little indulgent, we're going to have to pull out all the stops and go with the pork. We're going to take some diced up bacon. Also, if you have lardons or salt pork, that'll work perfectly fine. We're going to get these into the pan. We're going to let these start heating a little bit. Alright, so we got our bacon getting a bit crispy. We're going to start adding the rest of the mushroom filling. We're going to take those chopped up stems that we had. We're going to put these directly in. Add in a small amount of diced garlic. A little bit of fresh parsley. Tiny little bit of cilantro, and a little bit of diced Scotch bonnet pepper. We're just going to want to get all this mixed together, and you really don't need to add any kind of oil or butter. You've got enough coming off of the bacon fat that there's no reason to add any more fat to this as is. Now I do want to say that if I didn't have the camera running, I would have my vent fan going for this. The bacon's going to produce a little bit of smoke. And I can tell you firsthand, when those Scotch bonnets hit the heat, you're going to feel a little bit like you've been pepper sprayed unless you've got your vent going to pull all that vapor right up there, because otherwise it's a little on the painful side. But you can see our garlic's getting a little brown, our bacon's starting to turn nice and crispy. What we're going to actually do is turn the heat off. We're going to give just a quick splash of soy sauce. We're just going to let that sit in that for a second, and we're going to add a little bit of cubed cheddar cheese and a little bit of blue, and we're just going to start mixing this up, and we're going to be moving this from the pan into a bowl in just a second. So we're going to take our mushroom filling, move it into a smaller bowl. The one I was using for the mushroom caps would be absolutely perfect. And we're just going to want to slowly keep working this, since we're going to put cold cheese into it, to let it just kind of melt and bind everything up. And it's also going to give all these flavors just a second to stew and kind of come together. And as you see, once it starts to become somewhat uniform, you can let it go, get yourself a spoon, start taking your mushroom caps, dig into your mix, and just start filling the hole you left with the stem. You can shape it a little bit so it'll look a little bit neater when you get done. And just put them aside. Okay, so we've gone and stuffed our mushroom caps. So what we're going to do to finish them off is I've got a little bit of crumbled Stilton blue cheese. I'm going to pat just a tiny little bit on there, so then when we finally finish these in the oven, it's going to melt and brown up a little bit and hold all that good stuff underneath. So that's your mushrooms start to finish. Alright, the next one we're going to do is a blue cheese and beef bite. It's almost going to be like a little mini Philly cheesesteak. So we're going to start with a pan. We're going to take some of our olive oil, put in just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. We're going to let that sit and start to get warm for a second. The first thing that we're going to add is we took a little bit of garlic and we sliced them kind of long and thin. We're going to get that down and let that start to cook just a little bit. And on top of that, we're going to throw just a little bit of parsley. It's got a little bit of fresh basil mixed in with it. We're also going to add just a quick touch of oregano. And just because I like a little spice, just a tiny little bit of Scotch bonnet. We're going to take, I took some thin cut top sirloin steaks. We're going to start laying these down. Lay them out nice and flat so these are going to cook quick, and we want to make sure that they cook evenly. And this is going to make a great stuffing for a wonderful little tapa. One very important thing, you want to make sure everything gets mixed up so every bite's going to have the same flavor. You don't want one bite that's going to be garlicky and another one that's going to have lots of herb and no kind of uniformity. Alright, so our beef's done on the stove, and I took some of the store-bought pizza dough I have and rolled out little 1-inch balls. So we're going to start, you're going to take a ball, just kind of spread it out just a little bit, and take a nice little piece of your beef. See if you can get some of that garlic in there. And just a little pinch of blue cheese. We're going to push that down and start folding this dough around it. It's not going to look super pretty at first, but one of the nice things is, since your hands are going to get a little oily from handling the beef, you can notice they move pretty nicely over the dough, and you can use it to kind of smooth up and smooth over any holes till you make a couple of these little cocoon or egg-shaped things. We're just going to keep rolling these up and put these aside till it's time to hit the oven. Our next delicacy is going to be a very easy one. It's going to be some bacon-wrapped shrimp. We're going to take a shrimp, we've peeled it, deveined it. We're going to add just a little bit of blackening seasoning. We're going to make sure it's all in there good. I've taken some bacon and cut the strips in half. You're going to want to just take your bacon, pinch it between your thumb and forefinger, and you're just going to want to wrap this guy up. It's going to be a little tricky on your first one or two you do, but the more of them you do, you'll get a hang for it. And you're just going to want to find the thickest part on that shrimp. I can feel there's a few layers here. We're going to put this down in the pan first, and we're just going to cook it till the bacon's crispy. By that time, the shrimp inside will be nicely cooked, but it'll have enough fat around it that it's not going to get tough and rubbery on us. Alright, now if you're anything like me, you're not going to have time when it comes time for you to go and present all this food. So I'm cooking everything early in the day so I can put it in the fridge and heat it up at the last minute. Now if you're going to be acting like that, you can take these shrimp here the way they are. You can see the bacon just starting to get brown. You can see a tiny bit of red peeking through from the shrimp. But you're going to want to stop these, and I've actually got a pan or a little container full of everything else that I'm making, and when it is time for everything to be done, I can put it all into the same cookie sheet with some butter and cook it for about 420. But I've got my bacon wrapped shrimp, my stuffed mushrooms, and beef bites that I've already made.